What if the reason you can't finish what you start isn't about willpower, but about understanding a fundamental truth that the world's happiest people figured out centuries ago? Picture this. You have 47 unfinished projects scattered across your digital life. That book you were going to write sits abandoned at chapter 3. The online course you bought 6 months ago remains 60% complete. The fitness routine that started with such promise lasted exactly 11 days. Sound familiar? Here's what's fascinating. While you're battling this internal war of good intentions and incomplete follow-through, there's an entire culture that has cracked the code on finishing what they start. Finland consistently ranks as one of the world's happiest countries. But here's what most people miss. They're also a nation that punches way above its weight in innovation and achievement. Nokia revolutionized mobile communication. Linux powers most of the internet. Angry Birds became a global phenomenon. These aren't accidents or strokes of luck. They're the product of a cultural mindset that understands something profound about human nature and completion. While Americans consume endless content about motivation and Europeans debate work-life balance, Finns have been quietly practicing something much simpler and infinitely more powerful. They call it SISU, and it's about to change everything you think you know about finishing what you start. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're just missing the Finnish secret that turns ordinary humans into unstoppable finishers. Beyond the motivation myth, here's where things get interesting. SISU isn't just persistence. It's not grit. It's certainly not the kind of rah-rah motivation you find in self-help books. Dr. Emilia Lahti, the world's leading researcher on this concept, defines SISU as extraordinary determination in the face of extreme adversity. But here's what makes it radically different from everything else you've heard about finishing what you start. Most Western approaches tell you to find your why or pump yourself up with inspiring quotes. SISU says the opposite. Assume you won't feel like doing it, and build your system around that reality. It's anti-motivation motivation. It's the art of becoming unstoppable precisely because you're not relying on feeling unstoppable. Think about this for a moment. In Finland, winter lasts 6 to 8 months. Imagine waking up in darkness, commuting to work in darkness, and returning home in darkness. For months on end. If Finns waited to feel motivated to accomplish anything meaningful, their entire civilization would have collapsed centuries ago. Instead, they developed SISU, a way of being that transcends temporary emotions and temporary setbacks. Here's what neuroscience reveals about this approach. Recent research from the University of Helsinki shows that people who practice SISU-based methods demonstrate increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive function and long-term planning. Unlike traditional willpower, which depletes throughout the day like a smartphone battery, SISU actually strengthens neural pathways related to persistence and emotional regulation. While we've been conditioned to believe that starting something means we should feel excited about it forever, SISU acknowledges a fundamental truth. Enthusiasm fades, energy fluctuates, but commitment can remain constant. The Finnish don't finish things because they feel like it. They finish things because finishing is simply who they are. It's identity, not intensity. The 5 pillars of finishing. First, there's the radical acceptance of difficulty. In American culture, we're often surprised when things get hard. We interpret resistance as a sign we're on the wrong path. SISU takes the opposite approach. Expect difficulty, welcome it, prepare for it. Before starting any significant project, Finns engage in what I call a difficulty inventory. They literally map out everything that could go wrong, every obstacle they might encounter, every moment they'll want to quit. This isn't pessimism, it's strategic realism. By expecting resistance, they're never blindsided by it. Surprise is the enemy of persistence. When you know the storm is coming, you can build accordingly. Second, SISU operates on micro-commitments, but here's where it differs from typical goal-setting advice. These aren't about achieving massive results. They're about reinforcing identity. Instead of, I want to write a book, it becomes, I am someone who writes 200 words every day. The focus shifts from the outcome to the daily practice, from the destination to the journey. Every SISU practice must be so small that you literally cannot talk yourself out of it. Write one sentence. Do one push-up. Read one page. The goal isn't dramatic progress. The goal is maintaining the identity of someone who shows up consistently, especially when they don't feel like it. Third is seasonal thinking. Finns understand seasons, both literal and metaphorical. There are seasons for planting, seasons for growing, seasons for harvesting, and seasons for resting. Your projects have seasons too. Some require deep focused work during metaphorical winter months. Others need the high energy of summer execution. SISU practitioners match their energy to their project's natural rhythm rather than fighting against it. Fourth, the stopping ritual. This is where SISU diverges dramatically from Western productivity culture. Finns have rituals for stopping work that are just as important as rituals for starting. They understand that sustainable finishing requires sustainable stopping. At the end of each work session, they write down exactly where they stopped and identify the single next action for tomorrow. This eliminates the mental energy required to figure out where I was and creates momentum for the next session. Finally, there's community accountability, but not the kind you might expect. In Finland, accountability isn't about shame or public declarations. It's about quiet, consistent witness. Find one person who will simply acknowledge your daily practice without judgment, advice, or analysis. Did you do your writing today? Yes? Good. That's it. No drama, no coaching, just witness. The Western trap versus the Finnish way. Here's what's fascinating about the contrast between approaches. While Western culture celebrates the dramatic breakthrough, SISU celebrates the unremarkable day. The day you showed up when you didn't feel like it. The day you wrote one paragraph instead of 0. The day you chose consistency over intensity. American productivity culture often falls into what I call the perfectionist paralysis. I'll start when I have the perfect plan, the perfect time, the perfect tools. SISU responds with the Finnish concept of hyvä riittää, good enough. Progress trumps perfection every single time. We've been trained to wait for inspiration, to start when we feel confident and excited and ready. SISU suggests we act our way into feeling rather than feel our way into action. Your emotions follow your behavior, not the other way around. Consider this. What if everything we believe about motivation is backwards? What if the secret isn't finding the energy to start, but creating systems that work especially when you don't have energy? The 7-day SISU experiment. Let me challenge you to try something different. For the next 7 days, apply SISU principles to your most important unfinished project. Start by choosing that one project that's been haunting you. Write down every possible obstacle, setback, and challenge you might face. Don't try to solve them yet, just acknowledge them. Welcome them as teachers rather than enemies. Next, design a micro-commitment so small you cannot fail. If you want to write a book, commit to writing 1 sentence per day. If you want to exercise, commit to putting on your workout clothes. The goal is identity reinforcement, not dramatic achievement. Identify what season your project is in and what season you're in personally. Are you in a planning phase or an execution phase? Match your approach accordingly. Don't try to plant seeds when you're in a harvest season. Find your SISU partner, someone who will witness your daily practice without trying to fix, motivate, or advise you. Just simple acknowledgement. Each day, give yourself 1 point for showing up, regardless of output. 7 days, 7 points. That's a perfect score. Not 7 chapters written or 7 pounds lost. 7 days of being the person who shows up. The identity transformation. Here's what SISU ultimately teaches us. We don't rise to our goals. We fall to our systems. And we don't fall to our systems. We fall to our identity. The Finnish understand something profound about human nature. Change your identity, and your behavior follows automatically. 6 months from now, do you want to be someone who talks about what they're going to do? Or someone who quietly does what they said they would do? The difference isn't talent, intelligence, or even circumstances. The difference is operating system. SISU isn't about feeling like doing something. It's about being the kind of person who does something regardless of feeling. That's why Finns aren't just happy. They're accomplished. That's why they don't just start things, they finish them. Your unfinished projects aren't evidence of personal failure. They're evidence that you've been using the wrong approach. SISU is the upgrade your brain has been waiting for. In a world obsessed with starting, finishing becomes your competitive advantage. In a culture addicted to motivation, systems set you free. The question isn't whether you can develop SISU, it's whether you're ready to discover who you become when you do. What's one project you're going to apply SISU to starting tomorrow? Not next week, not when conditions are perfect. Tomorrow. Because SISU doesn't wait for perfect timing. SISU creates perfect timing through imperfect action. Welcome to the Finnish way of finishing what you start. Welcome to SISU,